Right now on the National Weather Desk, water is rising in the Pacific Northwest. Homes and roads are flooded, and several dramatic rescues have been caught on camera. If you ever find yourself facing flood waters in your car, we have tips on how you can make it out safely. Avalanche season is here, and there have already been many in Utah. See how the state is preparing to keep everyone safe. We'll take you to the mountains of West Virginia, where fishing is a year-round sport, and you might call them the sounds of silence. Yes, you can actually hear the northern lights.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm Angela Brown. Rain is still falling across the Pacific Northwest this morning as the atmospheric river known as the Pineapple Express drenches Washington and also Oregon. Rivers across both states are already overflowing their banks. Other rivers will reach flood stage later today. Homes and roads are already flooded. Many people had to be rescued, including a person on the roof of a car. Flood warnings and watches are posted through tonight. The rain will continue throughout the day, dropping 2 to 3 more inches. That's in addition to the 7 inches that has already fallen in some areas. We have team coverage from the region this morning, starting with TNWD with details on that Coast Guard rescue.
Dramatic moments in flooding waters about 20 miles east of Long Beach, Washington. People desperate for help. Watch as the U.S. Coast Guardsman rappels out of a helicopter and picks up a man who's stranded in the floods.
They went to the person on the roof of their car first, pulled them up, and then went over back to the house to pull those 4 other people. With that much flooding going on, the best and quickest reachable way was using a helicopter. So the fire department had called up the Coast Guard Air Base in Astoria, and we dispatched one of our crews to the scene.
Steve Strohmeyer is with the U.S. Coast Guard. The 5 rescued people were then taken to Coast Guard Air Station Astoria, where they would then wait for medical care.
We were definitely happy to be there at the right place at the right time.
As a torrent of trouble soaks much of Snohomish County, Sunny Sing's restaurant is swept up in history.
Every hour go by, just getting worse and worse.
The proof is in the numbers. By midday, the Stillaguamish River crested at 21 feet, which is the highest level ever recorded, meaning a destructive deluge, as Sunny rushed to save all the food in his restaurant.
We were trying to get it out, but while we were doing it, the water was getting worse, and it didn't give us much time to take it out.
People in Sylvana can definitely relate, as these dramatic pictures show. The town is largely unreachable except by boat, with the flooding inching ever so closer to Mark Mycon's home.
It's got to be a pretty significant flood to get up here where the water's just, you can see it's down there, it's just pouring over the road like a river right now.
In front of Mark's home, some drivers risked the floodwaters, while many U-turned in his driveway.
I think I'm going to turn around. I'm going to go around, yeah. My baby needs to get home, so yeah.
Oh, it don't bother me at all. Better than they get stuck out there. Yeah.
Despite the historic, if not hellish aspect of these floods, nobody was hurt.
Nothing much you can do about it, you know, it's just the nature, and you just have to go with the flow.
Alejandro and his family knew they lived close to the river.
It is, oh wow, this is a river, this is coming.
But they didn't expect this.
This is more.
Their home, one of around a dozen with flood damage after the Stillaguamish River flooded over its banks.
Their house may be damaged. The only thing you can do is get your car and get out.
People along the river told us they've been watching the flood forecast for days.
This has been a major flood, and everybody around here has been scared to death.
Road closures popped up around Arlington, but some drivers went around them. This driver got stuck in the water and her car shut off, so firefighters had to go get her out.
She was in about a foot of water, so it was coming into her vehicle. It stalled her vehicle out, and she's unable to keep warm.
This is only the second time I've ever seen the river this high.
People who live near the Stillaguamish River are used to getting flood warnings. With record-setting flood levels here, this was one nobody here will forget.
You know, get all your ducklings back across the river with you and get everybody safe and sound and be prepared to hunker down for a couple of days.
Rain from Tuesday's atmospheric river overwhelmed storm drains, leading to situations like this. Streets are blocked off all around this neighborhood for deep, rushing water. Rockaway Beach Councilwoman Mary McGinnis said the Department of Public Works rescued someone from a flooded home in the south part of town. Later in the day, she spoke with a resident whose home was also flooded. She had just moved to the neighborhood and didn't know this could happen. McGinnis said she's been in regular contact with the city manager and has this advice for people driving in the area.
Be safe, because every street that is flooded, there is another street that will get people where they want to go. They may have to go a block or two out of their way, but there is always a street that is not flooded.
All that rain is also increasing the risk of landslides. There have already been a few, including one that uprooted trees, but thankfully stopped short of damaging homes. Washington is one of the most landslide-prone states in the nation. To help prevent them, people are asked to clear drains of leaves and debris and make sure their downspouts are functioning. And of course, keep an eye on slopes for erosion and soil movement. Several feet of snow fell in the Utah mountains over the weekend, and that means avalanches are now a very big concern. More than 30 have been reported since Friday. Ariel Harrison is in Little Cottonwood Canyon, which was closed 30 times just last year for avalanche mitigation.
It was incredibly active.
Paige Pagnucco is a forecaster with the Utah Avalanche Center.
This weekend was a great reminder of, yep, it's winter in Utah. It's time to start paying attention to avalanches.
Last year, Utah saw 3 avalanche-related deaths for this season. This is footage from the Pole Canyon search, where a 38-year-old snowmobiler died after being buried in the massive slide. And right now, Pagnucco says danger is high from Logan to Provo.
And then we got this huge load of fresh new snow that was actually quite heavy, that contained a lot of water. And that just put a lot of weight on that older snow, and that kind of sets us up for avalanche activity.
Training offered today and throughout the season aims to teach life-saving backcountry skills, something forecasters say is invaluable knowledge for even the youngest of skiers.
By no means are we ever going into a really risky situation with him, but if he ever got into trouble, he would know what it is and how to use it.
In North Carolina, snow is possible at higher elevations this week, and residents are getting ready. Taylor Thompson has more.
Jimmy Ray, born and raised in the town, runs and owns Heritage Hardware.
We're in the cycle where snow and cold weather is going to hit us.
He says that during the winter months, they switch gears from being a build and supply hardware company,
building houses and supplying homeowners for their items to keep their house running,
to snow and snow removal.
We've got the snow shovels, the salt melt, and the insulation products that people use to winterize their homes, the supplemental heaters for people that need supplement heat.
They also have power tools and equipment to help with storm damage. When people come into the store, especially during the month of December, Ray says he recommends stocking up on products like ice and snow melt.
To do their driveways and sidewalks so nobody runs out on a slick sidewalk and slips and falls.
While businesses are getting prepared, residents are getting excited.
I absolutely love it. Snow of 2020 was awesome. I had a white Christmas, so I'm hoping for that again this year.
Brad Hendricks manages Appalachian Java and says that while he loves the snow, his goal is to keep serving coffee.
If I can make it in, we'll be open.
That potential snowfall will hopefully help crews battling the Black Bear wildfire. It's still burning near the Tennessee state line and is now 90% contained. It's consumed more than 2,000 acres. Parts of the Appalachian Trail remain closed. And as the weather gets colder, even animals are looking for a place to stay warm. Check out this video out of New Jersey of a deer that broke into a school, and a man walking his dog saw the deer crash through the school's glass window and called police. Officers chased the deer through a hallway before it opened up a door and nuzzled its way into a classroom. The officers were able to corral the deer to an exit door and back outside within minutes. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we look at how you can stay safe if you get stuck in your car during a flood, and we'll hear about the sounds that come from the Northern Lights.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with Look at the Northeast. More chilly temperatures are on the way in the Northeast today. Look for highs in the 30s and low 40s. We will see a fair amount of sunshine develop in parts of northern New England, western New York, northern New Jersey. A good chunk of southern New England and New York over towards Albany, Poughkeepsie perhaps, will feature a lot of clouds. And kind of more of the same on Thursday. Temperatures are going to stay seasonably cool in the 30s to near 40 with a mixture of sun and clouds. Full sun returns on Friday.
Hey everyone, I'm Wyatt Everhart. Definitely some cloud cover left across Maryland this morning in the wake of our Clipper system overnight that did bring a few wintry showers to the western half of the state. After that system continues to move away, we'll look for just more clearing skies today, some sunshine, but with that clearing sky will come colder temperatures from the mid-30s to only the mid-40s this afternoon, colder than average, and then later on tonight, temperatures plummeting down into the 20s by first thing Thursday morning.
Good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Michael Arenberg with a look at your southeast regional forecast for this Wednesday. Other than a few clouds, it will be sunny to partly cloudy across the area with very little rainfall activity. Rain well off the Carolina coast and mid-Atlantic coast. So it looks like a nice day overall, but rather cool with a northwesterly flow behind a few cool fronts. Highs only in the 40s in Nashville, 50s for most of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, all the way down to the Panhandle, Florida. Highs in the 60s and 70s for much of Florida.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
If you ever face floodwaters like those in the Pacific Northwest, one of the worst places to seek shelter is your car. But too often, drivers come across flash floods and they don't know what to do. If this ever happens to you, meteorologist Marshall McPeak has some ways you can stay safe.
One of the things we're keeping an eye on is the potential for flooding. A lot of that is happening around the country, but you may not realize how easy it is for that water to cause trouble. Only 6 inches of fast-moving water, that's all it takes to take a person down, knock you right off your feet and carry you downstream. Then, if you've got 12 inches, so a foot of water, that can carry away a small car, even a small SUV. Big SUVs, even large vans, it still only takes about 2 feet or less. And then that can get washed away. So this is why it's better to turn around, don't drown, because a lot of that water can really have a big impact. Now, the other thing is you don't know what's under the water. We see this a lot where there's some flooding around. You've driven on this road a million times. You know it like the back of your hand. What you may not realize when it's flooded, there's things lurking under the water. It only takes 1 inch of rain per hour to create some flash flooding. But even on roads that you know well, when they're flooded, things like, say, this manhole cover. Well, if that's washed away, you can't see that under the water. Or if the road itself has been washed away, the water is hiding that. Next thing you know, you can drive into that and find yourself trapped. So again, turn around, don't drown. You don't want the water carrying you or the car away. Be safe. Anytime you see high water, make sure you avoid it as best as possible and find a different way around.
Flooding is often triggered by water from nimbostratus clouds, one of the 10 recognized general cloud classifications. Altocumulus is another. Meteorologist Alan Seals shows us what they look like.
Altocumulus. Alto means middle, and cumulus means an accumulation, or the little puffiness that you see in the clouds. And typically it is a sheet of clouds that has little bubbles or ripples or grains. And sometimes it'll have rows. You look at the altocumulus clouds here, mixed in with the cirrus clouds, the high, thin ones, and when you look more closely, you can see bands and ripples, which are caused by wind shear, the same way that wind creates ripples on an ocean or a pond or a lake. The clouds can be made of water droplets or even ice crystals if it's really cold, or they could be made of water droplets that are below freezing, which is called supercooled. The altocumulus clouds around a full moon can create what's known as a corona. It's that fuzzy glow of red and blue that you see around the moon. Two nicknames for the sky when you see these. One of them is buttermilk sky, because they look like curdled buttermilk, and the other one is mackerel sky, because it looks like the scales on a mackerel fish. Altocumulus clouds are high enough that when the sun is low, whether it's sunrise or sunset, they will show you a lot of color and a lot of texture. A pretty scene. I'm meteorologist Alan Seals.
Fishing is a year-round sport for many people. Ice fishing is extremely popular in places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Maine. And while there's little ice, meteorologist Brandon Stover says winter fishing remains just as popular in West Virginia.
If you love to fish, waiting until spring can be quite the wait. But you don't necessarily have to.
Now you're set, man.
Okay, thanks, man.
Give it a go.
While you may not catch as many fish during the colder months, you could still catch some big ones.
He's either going to break you off or we're going to, I might have to get a bigger net, boys. That's a big fish. Just hold tight now.
Bo Wolf is a fishing guide that knows the New River up and down. He really likes to target walleye and even muskie during the winter.
It's my favorite time of year to fish. You know, you basically got the river to yourself.
He's fighting. Native walleye.
The walleye are moving upriver to spawn, pretty much starting in the fall, November. They'll come upriver and they'll kind of stage up all throughout the winter right here near in sandstone area. Around the 1st of March they'll spawn. When they spawn out, they'll go right back downriver where they come from.
The water is cold, but these fish will still take your line. You just have to change your strategy a bit.
Basically drifting and bumping these time off the bottom. You see the ledge right, see the rock line? Yep. Cast right before it and let it sink. My man.
A muscle lunch.
That's a good one, man.
That's the one I've ever got.
Good for you.
After a measurement of around 37.5 inches, it was time to put her back into the new.
There, girl. She's ready. Always try to make sure they're okay. Yeah. Come on, baby.
For many people, seeing the northern lights is a lifelong dream, but did you also know that you can hear them? From old folklore to modern scientific research, there has been much debate about auroral sounds over the years. Emily Gracie sat down with a science historian that has spent her career unlocking the mystery of the sounds of the northern lights.
There was an increase in the volume of accounts of auroral sound coming from very different places, coming from northern Canada, coming from the Shetland Islands, coming from Norway and Russia. And it was interesting that all of the accounts seemed to corroborate one another. They were all talking about very similar types of sounds, but maybe increasing with increased auroral activity and always of this kind of crackling, static-y nature.
This has been proven, correct?
There is still some debate within the scientific community. Generally, it's largely accepted that there is a sound that is associated with the Northern Lights, but it's not discovered entirely how that sound is produced, what triggers the sound, why it should exist. The researchers in Finland at the moment who are carrying out sound observations, their theory is that there's an inversion layer in the atmosphere where instead of getting cooler as you ascend, it suddenly gets warmer at about 70 meters above the ground. But again, they haven't discovered why the sound is triggered for some auroral displays and not for others.
Has anybody done any research on any connection between colors and sounds?
That's an interesting one. There's been a lot of work on the color of the aurora, a lot of spectroscopy going on. In all honesty, the color and the sound have been generally quite separate.
I heard that you can hear them sometimes even when you can't see them.
I generally find from the literature, it looks like the sounds appear when you have a really violent auroral display, one that's moving a lot. But I have also heard that people are able to pick up aurora that are happening on radio echoes, or you can even get daytime aurora that you can pick up again on radio echoes. And sometimes people claim that there are sounds associated with those. But again, that's quite difficult to corroborate as well.
If you want to hear more about the Northern Lights, check out our podcast, Off the Radar. This week's episode is all about solar storms and some of the dangers they present. You can find Off the Radar anywhere you listen to your podcast. As we go to break, a look at some spectacular sunrises from just outside of Washington, D.C.
Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm meteorologist Sarah Converse. A high pressure system building into the Midwest is keeping most of us dry. You can see there's a decent spread in temperatures. We're still hanging on to some cooler weather to the Ohio River Valley. Places like Indiana and Michigan also dealing with some 30s. But then as we work our way to the west, we do have some upper 50s and even low 60s. And then for tonight, another cold one, clear skies, temperatures across the board in the 20s and 30s.
Well, a good Wednesday morning to you, meteorologist Chris Suchan. Look at our forecast today across the region, starting off with a chilly start, but most above freezing. And through the afternoon, it is a sunny, cool day. Little Rock to New Orleans in the 50s, and we get some 60s across Texas. Oklahoma City about 59. A few high clouds coming across Texas during the day. Thursday, a little bit more cloud cover from Corpus Christi, San Antonio to Austin. Otherwise, it is mostly to partly sunny skies for the rest of the region. Thursday, mild in the 60s and 70s.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a good Wednesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. The Pineapple Express, a powerful atmospheric river, finally starting to slip away from Seattle and Portland for improving conditions around the Sound in the Willamette Valley today. Meanwhile, back to 81 out of Phoenix and 73 in San Diego. Look at that heavy rain moving all the way up and down the I-5 corridor, coming through the Central Valley, leaving lots of snow up in the Sierra Nevada today. And that's the scene from here.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Winter wonderland vibes around Utah's Big Cottonwood Canyon after fresh snowfall during the weekend. This rainbow added some extra color to the snowscape in part of the Pacific Northwest. While snowfall can present its challenges, on the bright side, making a snowman can be a definite job perk.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
The first big snow of the season can be exciting for folks who ski, but once they hit the slopes, there can be disappointment sometimes. Theron Zahn explains.
Some of the first snowfalls of the ski season can be very exciting for skiers and snowboarders. This view here from the Cascades, the snow is coming down, but it can also be a bit heartbreaking for skiers and snowboarders because as that snow comes down heavily at first, that snow level can change rapidly at the beginning of the season, causing ski areas to get a stop and start to the season. But as you can see here, at least for now, the snow is falling heavily.
We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. I'm Angela Brown. Thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you right back here